Hey guys, welcome back. So in today's video, I'm going to show you a fun, quirky little project that I did this week where I made a mask for our big skull that's going to be sitting out on our front porch for our yard display this year, as well as hanging out with us while we hand out trick-or-treating candy through our hollow tube from last week's video. So let's go ahead and get on into it. Hey guys!
Hello.
So we're gonna head into Lowe's. See it that way right over there. And pick up something for our next project. Alrighty, so here is the skull we've been wanting from Lowe's for a couple of years now, and we are so excited that we finally have it. Alright, stop to Joann's.
Let's do it.
Do it! So we went with this plain black fabric so that we could add a little bit of embellishment to the front of the mask, and which we'll get into coming up. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get on into it. I started by making a pattern piece using a piece of paper and the skull itself. I just used a basic shape that I found online and then just kind of upscaled it, starting from the nose down to the bottom of the jaw. And obviously the skull doesn't have a nose to hold things into place, so I had to think about that when choosing the shape instead of going with the original shape that I had with the 600 mask I made for people earlier this year. And if I were to do this again in the future or to improve on this mask, I would actually give myself a little bit of extra room because I decided to add a lining, which I wasn't originally going to do, so that cut down on my seam allowance, and I didn't really account for that whenever I cut it all out. Okay, so the original plan was to make a iron-on transfer from my Cricut machine to the mask. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. What ended up happening is the Cricut just drives me insane. It didn't work. The cut got all messed up. It just makes me so angry sometimes. So what I ended up doing was taking this pattern that I had created and just had it as a drawing file instead of a cut file, and put it onto that same brown paper that I used to make the pattern. And as you'll see in the next coming up clips, I went ahead and just hand embroidered it because, like I said, the Cricut just drives me nuts. I love the idea of it. The execution, though, it doesn't always work. It's very frustrating to work with. When I work on it, Ryan stays away from me because I get so frustrated with it. And I just recently learned that it may not be my fault, that it may be the machine itself. And so I've emailed Cricut and see if there's anything that they can help me with, but I had no idea. I thought it was user error, but this whole time it actually might be my machine itself. Anyway, more on that later. This is the design that I was kind of going for, and I'll show you what we actually ended up doing with this. So like I said, I wanted it to be a easy transfer iron-on, and which would have made this a one-day project and super easy and super simple. But of course, I always have to be extra, so I went ahead and started hand embroidering this instead. And it's been a while since I've pulled out my embroidery threads, but I started first. My plan was to fill in the letters and then go back and do an outline in white, but I kind of scratched that partway through and then just went ahead and started outlining in white and then filled in the letters with our colors from our Halloween stickers, which are available on deadmanscovefx.com if you're interested, or if you want to do a sticker swap, let us know in our DMs. And yeah, so this is me kind of going through it. I had some more footage of this on my phone on a time lapse, but I'm still learning and learning and trying to figure out this whole video thing, and apparently I did not save the correct type of file or something because it did not come over. Anyway, my next step, because I was over hand embroidering, was to try to machine embroider. I don't have a embroidering machine, but you can technically do this without a embroidering machine. You can do it with a sewing machine. So I tried that technique with the web that I was going to put on one side of the mask. It worked, except I forgot to backstitch any of my stitches, so they all just came apart when I went to go take that top piece of paper off, which again, technically I should have just like drawn directly onto the fabric itself with like a piece of chalk or something, and that would have made it a whole lot easier and probably doable. But you know, you live, you learn, especially with projects, and especially Ryan and I have learned the last couple of weeks. Well, we've always known, but we're really experiencing it this last couple of weeks, is you try something, it doesn't work, you gotta try something else, and that's totally okay to do. Just like with most of my projects, you just kind of go in and figure it out and then hope it works, or if it doesn't work, you do something different. So here I am taking out all of those teeny tiny stitches that I did because it just did not look the way I wanted it to look. So here we are going ahead and getting into the assembly of the mask. Since I did a lining, what I did was I pinned the two lining sides to my outside and then just left a hole so that I could flip it inside out. Again, I think next time I would actually sew the two masks like fronts together and then do the lining, just because I ended up losing about 1/4 inch on each side every time that I sewed. So like when I went to go sew the two mask fronts together, I lost another 1/4 inch on each one, so I lost a whole 1/2 inch on each side of the mask, which would have covered the skull a little bit better. But again, I didn't really account for that because I was making my own pattern. I didn't think about that, and I definitely should have, and I remember now for next time. But as you can see here, I just went ahead and trimmed a little bit of the excess. Whenever I originally cut the lining, I didn't initially iron the bed sheet that I used for the lining, and I should have. Once I had ironed everything out, everything kind of stretched out and got a little bit bigger than I wanted it. Or maybe that's where it should have been, but I had already cut the lining down. So here I am sewing the two front pieces together and just checking and adjusting and making sure I've got the right size. And then I was going to make either elastic or fabric bands, but also just for the look and for what it is, I went with twine because it looks cool and it's going to be outside and in the elements, and there's no need to waste elastic. Elastic is kind of spare right now anyway. So I also went ahead and did a 1/4 inch line all the way around the mask, just to give a little bit more detail and structure. Here I am making sure it fits, and I think it came out pretty cute. Here it is, gonna go ahead and sit on our front porch while we put up Halloween to show all the neighbors. Don't forget to save Halloween. Alrighty guys, so that was it. I hope you really enjoyed that and had fun watching and joining with us. Show us how you're going to be doing your social distancing Halloween, and we'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye!